Welcome back, Coinology. The 1962 D1 cent coin is one of those small, ordinary-looking objects that almost nobody pays attention to, yet it carries a story so deep, so layered, and so fascinating that it can completely change the way you look at pocket change forever. When you hold a 1962 D Lincoln cent in your hand, you are not just holding a piece of copper alloy worth a cent by face value, you are holding a witness to American history, industrial power, political change, minting technology, and the dreams of collectors who search endlessly for that one extraordinary example that could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Many people have heard whispers, rumors, and sensational stories about rare pennies selling for tens of millions of dollars, even figures as shocking as $72 million, and while most coins will never reach such heights, the reason these stories exist is because within ordinary dates like 1962D there are rare varieties, errors, and condition rarities that push values into unbelievable territory. This is where the real magic of coin collecting begins. To truly understand the 1962D penny, you must first understand what the Lincoln cent represents in American culture. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent was the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. By 1962, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for more than 50 years, and it had become a daily companion to millions of Americans. Children earned them for chores, adults saved them in jars, and businesses handled them by the millions. The design in 1962 was still the famous Victor David Brenner portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that had survived wars, depressions, and social revolutions. On the reverse, the Whittier's design had already been replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial, making the 1962D penny part of the early Memorial reverse era, a period that collectors study very closely. The D mint mark on the 1962D cent tells us that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint was a powerhouse of coin production in the early 1960s, operating at extremely high capacity to meet the demands of a booming post-war economy. Millions upon millions of cents were struck every year, and the 1962D penny had a massive mintage, which is why most examples are common today. However, coin value is not determined only by how many were made. Value comes from rarity in condition, rarity in errors, rarity in varieties, and rarity in survival at the highest quality levels. This is why an ordinary coin can suddenly become extraordinary. The weight of the 1962D Lincoln cent is approximately 3.11 grams. This weight is important because it reflects the classic composition of the era. In 1962, U.S. pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, with trace amounts of tin. This copper-rich composition gives these coins their warm reddish-brown color when new, which over time tones into red-brown and brown depending on storage and circulation. Collectors pay extreme attention to color, classifying coins as red, red-brown, or brown, with full red examples being the most desirable and valuable. A fully red 1962D penny that has never circulated and retains its original mint luster can be worth exponentially more than a worn brown example pulled from pocket change. The coin symbol, often simply referred to as cent for cent, may seem insignificant, but it represents the smallest unit of U.S. currency, a symbol of accessibility in everyday commerce. The Lincoln cent symbolizes humility and unity, values associated with Abraham Lincoln himself. When Brenner designed Lincoln's portrait, he aimed to show strength without arrogance, wisdom without distance, and humanity without weakness. On the 1962D penny, Lincoln faces to the right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1962 to the right, with the D mint mark just below the date. Each of these elements has meaning, and collectors examine them closely for spacing, alignment, doubling, and other anomalies. The reverse design of the 1962D penny features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This design is rich with symbolism. The memorial itself represents remembrance, unity, and sacrifice. Inside the memorial, if you look closely on well-struck examples, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated within, making the Lincoln cent one of the few coins in the world to feature the same person on both sides. The inscriptions "United States of America" curve along the top, "E Pluribus Unum" sits above the memorial, and 1 cent is boldly displayed at the bottom. On high-grade examples, the steps of the memorial are sharp and fully defined, a feature collectors price heavily, and now comes the part that excites collectors and casual viewers alike: value. Most 1962D pennies you will find today are worth only a few cents, maybe 10 to 50 cents in circulated condition. Even uncirculated examples are often valued at a few dollars. But this is only the surface story. Deep beneath the surface lies the world of rare errors, die varieties, and condition rarities that can transform a humble cent into a treasure worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in extreme theoretical cases, millions of dollars. When people talk about figures like $72 million, they are usually referring to the concept of a perfect storm coin, an ultra-rare error, on the wrong planchet, with dramatic visual appeal, in perfect mint-state condition, and with historical significance, sold at the height of market demand to wealthy collectors competing fiercely for ownership. For the 1962D penny, collectors search for doubled die obverse varieties, where letters or numbers appear doubled due to a misalignment. during the die creation process. These doubling effects are not the same as machine doubling. True doubled dies show strong, rounded secondary images that are clearly separated from the main design. A genuine doubled die 1962D penny in high grade can command extremely high prices, especially if the doubling is bold and easily visible. Another major category is repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark appears doubled or shifted. These varieties occurred because mint marks were punched into dies by hand during this era, allowing for mistakes that today are highly collectible. Off-metal errors are another area of fascination. Imagine a 1962D penny struck on a silver dime planchet or on a foreign coin blank. Such errors are exceedingly rare and immediately recognizable by their weight, color, and sound. If a confirmed 1962D cent were discovered struck on the wrong metal and preserved in near-perfect condition, it would instantly become one of the most talked-about coins in the hobby. This is where speculative values can soar into the millions, not because the date alone is rare, but because the error is unique or nearly unique. Then there are die cap errors, broad strikes, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets. Each error tells a story of the minting process gone rafter? The answer is very few. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC assign grades on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. A 1962D penny graded MS67 red or face, the bidding could reach unimaginable levels, especially if wealthy collectors viewed it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The history of 1962 itself adds owning a 1962D penny is like holding a silent witness to that era's market value is not static, it changes with time, demand, discovery, and hype. Stories of coins selling for millions capture the imagination and drive new collectors into the hobby. While a $72 million valuation represents an extreme, often theoretical or headline-driven figure, it highlights an important truth: rarity plus demand equals value. The coin market has seen astonishing sales before, and as long as collectors continue to search for perfection and uniqueness, the potential for record-breaking prices will always exist. In part 1 of this deep exploration, the foundation has been laid. We have looked at the physical characteristics of the 1962D penny, its weight, composition, design, symbolism, and historical context. We have touched on the reasons why an ordinary coin can become extraordinarily valuable, and why collectors never. As we move deeper into the world of the 1962D 1-cent coin, the story becomes even more intense, more emotional, and more revealing about why collectors around the world never stop chasing what appears to be the impossible dream. The truth is that coin collecting is not just about metal and numbers, it is about belief, patience, and the willingness to see value where others see nothing. The 1962D penny is a perfect example of this mindset, because for decades it was ignored, spent, lost, and forgotten, yet today it sits under magnifying glasses, microscopes, and auction spotlights, studied like a priceless artifact. One of the most important things to understand about the 1962D penny is how it was made. At the Denver Mint in 1962, coin production was a non-stop operation. Heavy presses struck blank copper planchets between two steel dies with enormous force, creating thousands of coins per hour. These machines were powerful but not flawless. Dies wore down, cracked, shifted, and were replaced constantly. Human hands were involved at every stage, from preparing dies to feeding planchets and inspecting output. Every single step introduced the possibility of error, and every error created a potential rarity. This is why collectors say that rarity is born in seconds but discovered decades later. Die cracks are one such feature that fascinates collectors. On some 1962D pennies, you can find raised lines running through letters or across Lincoln's portrait. These are not scratches but die cracks, formed when the steel die began to fail under pressure. Early-stage cracks might add only minor value, but dramatic cracks, especially those that cross major design elements, can multiply a coin's worth. In extreme cases, when a die crack grows large enough, it can create a cud, a raised blob of metal where part of the die broke away. A 1962D penny with a large cud, especially in high condition, becomes a showpiece coin that collectors aggressively pursue. Another deeply studied area is strike quality. Not all 1962D pennies were struck equally. Some have weak strikes where Lincoln's hair details are flat and the memorial steps are soft. Others are sharply struck, with every detail crisp and clear. Sharp strikes are much rarer than people realize, because high-speed production often sacrificed detail for quantity. A sharply struck 1962D penny with full blazing red color can stand out dramatically when placed next to average examples. This visual impact is one reason why top-grade coins bring such astonishing prices at auction. Color alone can change everything. When a copper coin leaves the mint, it has a bright red, almost glowing appearance. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and handling causes oxidation, turning the surface brown. Most 1962D pennies today are brown or red-brown. Full red survivors are scarce, and those with smooth, spot-free surfaces are rarer still. Copper spots, carbon flecks, and streaks are common problems. A spotless red coin is like a miracle of preservation. Collectors pay massive premiums for such examples, because they represent what the coin looked like the moment it was born. Then there is the subject of hoards. Throughout history, hoards have reshaped the coin market. Someone saves rolls of pennies in a basement, a bank vault, or a forgotten drawer, and decades later they are rediscovered. For the 1962 D-penny, rumors of small hoards have circulated among collectors, but true top-grade hoards are extremely rare. Even when rolls are found, many coins show contact marks from being stacked together. Finding multiple coins grading at the highest levels from a single hoard is almost unheard of. This keeps the population of elite examples incredibly low, which fuels high market values. Collectors also analyze microscopic details, such as die polish lines. These fine lines appear when mint workers polish dies to extend their life. On some 1962 D-pennies, these lines create a distinctive texture that can help identify specific die states. Advanced collectors build entire catalogs of these variations, tracking which dies produced which coins. This level of detail turns a simple penny into a complex puzzle, where every line and curve has meaning. The emotional side of coin collecting cannot be ignored. Many collectors remember their first experience finding an unusual coin. The excitement, the disbelief, the rush of adrenaline. The idea that a coin pulled from everyday change could be worth thousands or even millions is intoxicating. This emotional connection drives demand far beyond logic. When two or more wealthy collectors want the same coin, price becomes almost irrelevant. This is how record-breaking sales happen, and why theoretical values like $72 million enter the conversation. It is not just about metal, it is about ownership, legacy, and prestige. Auction history shows us how fast values can escalate. Coins that sold for a few $1,000s in the 1980s have sold for hundreds of thousands or more in recent years. As grading standards tighten and populations are better understood, true rarities become even more valuable. A top population 1962 D-penny, meaning the highest graded example known, becomes a trophy coin. Trophy coins live in a different world, where price guides are meaningless and private negotiations often determine the final number. Another factor is global interest. Coin collecting is no longer limited to one country. Collectors from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East actively participate in U.S. coin auctions. This global competition increases demand and pushes prices higher. A rare 1962 D-penny is not just competing for American dollars, but for international wealth. This global stage makes extraordinary prices possible. Technology has also transformed the hobby. High-resolution imaging, online databases, and digital auction platforms allow collectors to study coins in incredible detail from anywhere in the world. A rare 1962 D-penny can be viewed by thousands of potential buyers instantly. This exposure amplifies demand and creates bidding wars. In the past, such a coin might have been seen by only a handful of local collectors. Today, it is a global event. The idea of a $72 million penny may sound unbelievable, but it represents the extreme edge of what happens when rarity, condition, error, history, and human desire collide. Even if only one coin in the world fits that description, it becomes a legend. Legends are powerful. They inspire searching, studying, and dreaming. Every collector who looks at a 1962 D-penny wonders, even if only for a moment, what if this one is special? As Part 2 continues this journey, the picture becomes clearer. The 1962 D-penny is not valuable because it is common, it is valuable because within its commonness hides the possibility of greatness. It teaches us that value is not always obvious, and that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest potential. The story is far from over, because next comes the deeper dive into famous discoveries, expert authentication, and the secrets that separate an ordinary cent from a legendary one. As the journey continues into Part 3, the focus shifts toward discovery, authentication, and the fine line that separates fantasy from reality in the world of high-value coin collecting. This is where dreams are tested, where myths are challenged, and where only knowledge, patience, and expert verification can turn a hopeful find into a documented treasure. The 1962 D-penny lives in this space between the ordinary and the extraordinary, and understanding this stage of the story is what transforms a casual viewer into a serious student of coins. Discovery is almost always accidental. Very few people set out believing they will find a legendary coin. Most discoveries begin with curiosity. Someone opens an old jar of pennies, inherits a collection, or searches bankrolls late at night under a desk lamp. The 1962 D-penny often appears again and again, seemingly unremarkable, until one example looks slightly different. Maybe the color is brighter, the detail sharper, or the mint mark oddly shaped. That moment of noticing is where everything begins. Many legendary coins were almost spent, almost ignored, almost lost forever. Once a potential rarity is suspected, the real journey begins. Magnification becomes essential. Under a loupe or microscope, tiny details reveal themselves. Doubling in the date or letters, separation lines, thickness changes, or unusual surface texture can all signal something important. For the 1962 D-penny, specialists often look closely at the "In God We Trust" motto, Lincoln's eye and beard, and the mint mark. True double die show strong, rounded secondary images, not flat shelf-like machine doubling. Learning to tell the difference can mean the difference between disappointment and discovery. Weight testing is another critical step. A standard 1962D penny weighs about 3.11 grams. Any significant deviation raises questions. A lighter coin could indicate an off-metal strike or improper alloy mix. A heavier coin could suggest plating or contamination. Precision digital scales allow collectors to measure down to hundredths of a gram. In rare cases, a weight anomaly has led to the discovery of coins struck on wrong planchets, a category that commands massive premiums. Sound even matters. Experienced collectors can hear the difference when a coin is gently dropped on a hard surface. Copper produces a distinctive dull ring, while silver or other metals sound sharper. While this method is not definitive, it adds another sensory layer to evaluation. Coin collecting is a full experience discipline, engaging sight, touch, sound, and intellect. Authentication is where legends are made or broken. No matter how exciting a coin appears, it means little without professional verification. Third-party grading services such as PCGS and NGC exist for this reason. These organizations employ experts who examine coins under controlled conditions, using advanced equipment and decades of experience. They determine authenticity, assign a grade, and encapsulate the coin in a tamper-evident holder. For a potentially valuable 1962D penny, this step is absolutely essential. Grading is both science and art. The graders evaluate surface preservation, luster, strike quality, color, and eye appeal. Each tiny mark, spot, or imperfection affects the final grade. For copper coins, grading becomes even more demanding because copper is highly reactive and unforgiving. A coin that looks perfect to the untrained eye may receive a lower grade due to microscopic issues. This is why truly high-grade copper coins are so rare and so valuable. Population reports play a major role in value. These reports show how many coins of a specific date and mint have been graded at each level. For the 1962D penny, population numbers drop sharply at the highest grades. When only a handful of coins exist at the top grade, competition becomes fierce. If one coin stands alone as the single finest known example, it enters a realm where price becomes whatever someone is willing to pay. Stories of famous discoveries fuel the imagination. Throughout numismatic history, coins once thought common have shattered expectations. A penny found in a lunchbox, a coin discovered in an old album, a roll purchased for face value that yielded a fortune. These stories are not myths, they are documented realities. Each one reinforces the belief that another discovery is still waiting. The 1962D penny, with its massive production and decades of circulation, remains fertile ground for surprises. However, with opportunity comes deception. The market is filled with altered coins, counterfeit errors, and exaggerated claims. Some individuals add fake doubling, carved mint marks, or plate coins to simulate rare varieties. This is why education is critical. Knowing what genuine errors look like protects collectors from costly mistakes. Professional authentication is the ultimate safeguard, but personal knowledge is the first line of defense. Market psychology plays a powerful role in extreme valuations. When a coin gains media attention or is linked to a dramatic story, demand can explode. Wealthy collectors often seek not just rarity, but narrative. A 1962D penny with a documented history, a unique error, and a compelling discovery story becomes more than a coin, it becomes an artifact with personality. This emotional connection is what drives bidding wars and record prices. The idea of a $72 million penny exists at the intersection of rarity, perfection, and human desire. While such a figure represents the farthest edge of possibility, it illustrates how value is created. It is not assigned by metal content or face value, but by scarcity, condition, and belief. Markets are shaped by people, and people are driven by stories. As knowledge spreads, more eyes search more coins. Some believe this reduces the chance of discovery, but history shows the opposite. The more people look, the more unusual coins are found. The 1962D penny continues to surface in new forms, new conditions, and new contexts. Every authenticated rarity adds another chapter to its story. By the end of part 3, one truth becomes clear. The 1962D penny is not just a coin from the past, it is an ongoing narrative. Its value is still evolving, its secrets not fully revealed. Somewhere, perhaps right now, another example is waiting to be noticed, studied, and understood. And when it is, the story will begin again, proving once more that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of history, mystery, and unimaginable possibility. As part 4 unfolds, the focus turns toward long-term investment thinking, generational wealth, and why a coin like the 1962D penny is not just hunted by hobbyists, but quietly watched by serious investors who understand how rare assets behave over time. Coins, unlike paper money or digital numbers on a screen, exist physically. They survive wars, inflation, economic crashes, and political change. This permanence is one of the reasons rare coins have always attracted wealth, and the 1962D penny sits at an interesting crossroads between common circulation coinage and elite rarity potential. In the early days, pennies were never meant to be investments. They were tools of trade, designed to move quickly through the economy. But history has a way of changing purpose. Gold coins once used for daily transactions now sit behind museum glass. Silver dollars that bought meals now sell for the price of houses. The same transformation happens slowly, quietly, and almost invisibly. The 1962D penny has already begun this journey, especially at the highest levels of condition and rarity. Investors look at population data, survival rates, and demand curves. They understand that while millions of 1962D pennies were struck, the number that remain in pristine, untouched condition is microscopic. Every year, more coins are lost to corrosion, cleaning, damage, or simple neglect. Supply never increases, it only decreases. Demand, however, grows as new collectors enter the market, fueled by online content, social media, and viral stories of incredible finds. This imbalance between shrinking supply and expanding demand is the foundation of long-term value growth. Another powerful factor is generational transition. Collections built in the mid to late 20th century are now being inherited, sold, or broken apart. Some extraordinary coins re-enter the market after decades of silence, shocking the numismatic world. Others disappear into private collections, sometimes never to be seen again. When a top-tier 1962D penny vanishes into a long-term collection, the available supply tightens even further, increasing the value of remaining examples. Condition sensitivity becomes extreme at the top end. A single microscopic flaw can separate a record-setting coin from an ordinary high-grade example. This sensitivity is why professional conservation and storage matter so much. Advanced collectors store copper coins in climate-controlled environments, using inert holders and carefully monitored humidity levels. Copper reacts easily, and a single mistake can permanently alter a coin's surface. A perfect 1962D penny that survives decades without degradation becomes almost mythical in status. The psychology of ownership also plays a crucial role. Owning a top population coin is not just about money, it is about recognition. Collectors compete quietly, sometimes fiercely, for registry rankings and prestige. Being known as the owner of the finest 1962D penny in existence brings status within elite circles. This desire for recognition can push prices far beyond traditional valuation models. When prestige is on the line, logic often steps aside. Historical parallels help explain how extreme prices become possible. Coins once dismissed as ordinary have shattered expectations when the right example appeared at the right time. What changed was not the coin, but perception. Once a coin is recognized as the best of its kind, it enters a different market category entirely. At that point, it is no longer compared to other pennies, but to other unique collectibles, rare art, historic manuscripts, and iconic artifacts. This is where numbers like tens of millions begin to appear plausible. The role of storytelling cannot be overstated. A coin with a documented chain of ownership, a dramatic discovery, and expert validation becomes far more desirable than an anonymous piece of metal. If a 1962D penny were discovered with a never-before-seen error, authenticated, graded at the highest level, and presented to the market with a compelling narrative, it would instantly become a media sensation. Media attention brings new buyers, including those outside traditional numismatics, further expanding demand. Economic uncertainty also pushes wealth toward tangible assets. During times of inflation, currency devaluation, or market volatility, investors seek objects with proven staying power. Rare coins have survived centuries of economic turmoil. A high-end 1962D penny, especially one that stands alone in its category, fits perfectly into this strategy. It is portable wealth, easily stored, easily transferred, and universally recognized. Time itself is one of the most powerful forces at work. The longer a coin exists, the more history it absorbs. In another 50 or 100 years, the 1962D penny will be viewed very differently than it is today. It will represent a distant era, a specific moment in American history. Coins that survive in exceptional condition become time capsules. Collectors of the future will pay premiums not just for rarity, but for preservation of the past. Speculation always surrounds extreme values, and skepticism is healthy. Not every coin will become a legend. Most will remain modestly valued, appreciated for history rather than wealth. But the existence of even one extraordinary example changes everything. It keeps hope alive, drives education, and sustains the market. The possibility, however remote, is enough to inspire millions of people to keep looking. As Part 4 draws to a close, the image of the 1962D penny becomes even clearer. It is no longer just a coin, it is a symbol of potential. It represents the idea that value can hide in plain sight, that patience can be rewarded, and that history often waits quietly until someone is ready to recognize it. The deeper the story goes, the more it proves that the smallest denomination can carry the heaviest weight of meaning, ambition, and belief. As Part 5 continues, the discussion moves into the hidden discipline behind serious collecting, the mindset that separates casual searching from lifelong pursuit, and the almost philosophical relationship collectors develop with a coin like the 1962 penny. At this level, the penny is no longer just an object, it becomes a mirror reflecting patience, discipline, and belief in unseen value. This is where the story deepens beyond money and enters the realm of legacy. Serious collectors often describe their relationship with coins as a long conversation across time. The 1962 penny was struck decades before many collectors were born, yet it speaks directly to them. Every mark, every detail, every trace of luster is a message from the past. Understanding that message requires slowing down, studying, and respecting the object. This attitude is why top collectors never rush decisions. They may wait years to acquire a single coin, knowing that one perfect example is worth more than hundreds of average ones. Education becomes a lifelong commitment. Books, auction catalogs, population reports, and historical mint records are studied repeatedly. The same coin is viewed thousands of times, because understanding deepens with repetition. A 1962 penny that once looked ordinary can suddenly reveal a subtle die marker or a previously unnoticed feature. This moment of realization is powerful. It reminds collectors that knowledge itself creates value. Mentorship plays a crucial role in this world. Many advanced collectors learned from older experts who spent decades handling rare coins. These mentors pass down unwritten knowledge, things not found in price guides or online articles. They teach how to recognize original surfaces, how to sense when a coin has been altered, and how to trust instinct shaped by experience. In this way, the 1962 penny becomes part of an unbroken chain of learning, passed from one generation to the next. Patience is tested constantly. The market rises and falls. Hype comes and goes. Coins appear and disappear. A collector might miss an opportunity and regret it for years, or wait too long and watch a price double overnight. Through all of this, discipline is what protects value. The most successful collectors are those who buy quality, avoid shortcuts, and think in decades rather than months. The idea of cleaning is one of the greatest lessons learned the hard way. Many potentially valuable pennies have been ruined by well-intentioned cleaning. Copper is especially unforgiving. Even gentle polishing permanently alters the surface, destroying originality and reducing value dramatically. A clean 1962 penny, no matter how rare, loses much of its appeal. This reality reinforces a core principle of numismatics: preservation is more important than appearance. Documentation becomes another pillar of value. Keeping records of where a coin came from, when it was acquired, and how it has been stored adds credibility. Provenance can elevate a coin's status, especially at the highest levels. A 1962 penny with a documented history, especially if tied to a famous collection or discovery, carries an extra layer of significance. Collectors value continuity and authenticity as much as the coin itself. The emotional highs and lows of collecting are intense. Finding something special can feel euphoric, while discovering damage or alteration can be crushing. Yet these emotions are part of the journey. They teach resilience and humility. Every disappointment sharpens judgment. Every success reinforces dedication. Over time, collectors learn that the process matters as much as the result. Community is another powerful force. Coin shows, online forums, private meetings, and auctions bring collectors together. Knowledge is shared, debated, and refined. The 1962 penny becomes a common reference point, a coin everyone knows yet few truly understand. Conversations about it can last hours, diving into minute details that outsiders would never notice. This shared passion sustains the hobby and keeps it alive. Wealthy collectors often think about what happens after them. Coins are not just possessions, they are responsibilities. Decisions are made about whether to pass collections to family, donate to museums, or eventually sell. A truly exceptional 1962 penny might one day sit in a museum display, labeled as the finest known example, educating future generations. This possibility adds meaning beyond financial return, and speculation about extreme values continues to fuel imagination. While not every coin will reach legendary status, the belief that one might is powerful. It keeps eyes searching, minds learning, and hands careful. The idea of a $72 million penny, whether realized or not, serves as a symbol of ultimate potential. It reminds collectors that rarity combined with perfection can defy expectations. As Part 5 comes to a close, the 1962 penny stands not just as a piece of American coinage, but as a lesson. It teaches that value is built slowly, that knowledge compounds, and that patience often outperforms haste. The coin story continues to grow with every collector who studies it, every hand that holds it carefully, and every mind that dares to believe that something small can be truly extraordinary. As Part 6 begins, the narrative moves into the future, exploring what lies ahead for the 1962 penny and why its story is still unfinished. Coins do not stop evolving once they are minted; their meaning, value, and status change as generations pass. What seems ordinary in one era can become extraordinary in another, and the 1962 D penny is slowly moving along that path, guided by time, scarcity, and human fascination. The future of the 1962 D penny is closely tied to the future of money itself. As digital payments replace cash and fewer people handle physical coins, surviving examples from the 20th century gain new significance. Coins become relics of a hands-on economy, objects from a time when money had weight, texture, and sound. In such a future, a well-preserved copper penny from 1962 becomes more than currency, it becomes a cultural artifact. This shift in perception naturally increases interest and long-term value. Younger generations are discovering coin collecting through technology rather than tradition. Videos, social media posts, and online marketplaces introduce coins to audiences who might never have visited a coin shop. A dramatic story about a rare penny can reach millions of viewers overnight. When the 1962 D penny appears in these narratives, curiosity spreads rapidly. Some viewers move on, but others begin searching, learning, and collecting. Each new collector adds another thread to the coin's future. Institutional interest also plays a role. Museums, universities, and historical societies continue to expand their numismatic collections. They seek coins that represent specific eras, technologies, or historical moments. A top-quality 1962 D penny, especially one with a unique era or exceptional preservation, fits perfectly into this mission. Once a coin enters an institutional collection, it is effectively removed from the market, further reducing supply and enhancing the mystique of remaining examples. The evolution of grading standards will continue to shape value. As technology improves, graders can see more detail than ever before. High-resolution imaging, surface analysis, and metallurgical testing allow experts to evaluate coins with unprecedented accuracy. This means that some coins previously thought to be top-tier may be re-evaluated, while others may emerge as truly exceptional. For the 1962 D penny, this ongoing refinement ensures that the very best examples stand out even more clearly over time. Another future factor is the gradual disappearance of original mint sets and rolls. Many were opened, spent, or damaged over the decades. Those that remain sealed become increasingly valuable as historical artifacts in their own right. A pristine roll of 1962 D pennies, untouched since the year of issue, would be a remarkable find. Even within such a roll, the chance of discovering a top-grade coin is slim, which only adds to the excitement and potential value. Environmental awareness may also influence how copper coins are viewed. As raw materials become more valuable and conservation becomes more important, historical copper objects gain additional cultural significance. A 1962 D penny is not just metal, it is a preserved piece of industrial history, reflecting mining, refining, and manufacturing practices of its time. The concept of legacy grows stronger with time. Collectors who own exceptional coins often see themselves as caretakers rather than owners. They preserve coins for future generations, understanding that their stewardship is temporary. A legendary 1962 D penny might pass through only a few hands over a century, each owner adding another chapter to its story. This sense of continuity adds depth that cannot be measured in dollars alone. Speculation about record-breaking prices will never disappear. As long as rare coins exist, people will imagine new highs. While not every prediction will come true, the act of imagining keeps the market alive. The idea of a penny reaching tens of millions of dollars challenges assumptions and invites people to look closer, to question what they think they know about value. Ultimately, the future of the 1962 D penny rests on human curiosity. As long as people care about history, craftsmanship, and rarity, coins will matter. The penny may be small, but its story is vast. It carries the weight of an era, the imprint of a nation, and the dreams of countless collectors who believe that within something ordinary lies something extraordinary. As Part 6 concludes, one thing becomes certain. The 1962 D penny has not reached the end of its journey. It continues to move forward through time, gathering meaning, value, and legend with each passing year. The final chapters have yet to be written, and when they are, they will prove once again that even the smallest coin can leave the largest legacy. As Part 7 unfolds, the narrative reaches its most reflective and symbolic stage, where the 1962 D penny becomes more than history, more than investment, and more than rarity. It becomes a lesson about perception, about how human attention transforms objects, and about how meaning is created through belief, time, and storytelling. By this point, the penny no longer lives only in albums or holders, it lives in imagination. Every great collectible reaches a moment where it crosses from object to icon. This moment is not marked by a single sale or headline, but by a slow shift in how people speak about it. The 1962 D penny is entering that phase. It is referenced in discussions about hidden value, used as an example in educational content, and cited whenever the idea arises that something ordinary can become extraordinary. This symbolic role is powerful, because symbols endure even when individual items are lost or forgotten. The act of searching itself becomes meaningful. Millions of people have looked through pennies at least once, hoping to find something special. That shared experience creates a collective memory. The The 1962 penny is part of that memory, a date that appears again and again, familiar yet full of possibility. This familiarity makes discovery feel personal. When someone finds an unusually sharp or bright example, it feels like destiny rather than chance. Time reshapes importance. In 1962, no one imagined that pennies from that year would be discussed with such intensity. They were simply coins, struck in enormous numbers, designed to circulate and wear out. Yet survival changes everything. What remains after decades becomes representative of what was lost. A pristine 1962 penny stands in contrast to the millions that vanished, corroded, or were spent into oblivion. Survival itself becomes a form of rarity. The story also highlights the human need to connect with the past. Coins offer a direct physical link to history. The same 1962 penny you hold today may have passed through countless hands, crossed state lines, and witnessed moments both ordinary and historic. That continuity is rare in a digital age. Holding such an object grounds the imagination and makes history tangible. At this stage, the conversation about value transcends numbers. Whether a coin sells for a few dollars or for millions, its true worth lies in what it represents. The idea of a $72 million penny is not just about price, it is about the boundary of possibility. It challenges assumptions about worth and invites people to question how value is assigned. In doing so, it expands thinking beyond coins into life itself. Collectors often say that the best coins choose their owners. This poetic idea reflects the patience required to find, recognize, and preserve something special. A legendary 1962 penny may sit unnoticed for decades until the right person comes along, someone prepared by knowledge and curiosity to understand its significance. When that happens, it feels less like ownership and more like stewardship. The passing of time also ensures that stories multiply. Every decade adds new perspectives. New collectors bring new questions. New technology reveals new details. What is known today may be revised tomorrow. This constant evolution keeps the coin alive in discussion and study. The 1962 penny remains open-ended, its narrative unfinished. In the end, the penny becomes a metaphor. It represents overlooked potential, quiet endurance, and the rewards of careful attention. It teaches that greatness does not always announce itself, and that value often hides in the most familiar places. For viewers listening to this story, the lesson extends beyond coins. It suggests that the extraordinary may already be present, waiting to be recognized. As Part 7 closes, the journey feels complete yet unresolved. The 1962 penny stands as a reminder that history is not static, that meaning grows with time, and that belief can transform the smallest object into a legend. The final part will bring everything together, leaving one lasting thought: sometimes, the greatest treasures are not buried deep underground, but resting quietly in plain sight. As Part 8 flows forward, everything begins to converge into a single, powerful understanding of why the 1962 penny continues to matter so deeply. By now, it is clear that this coin is not defined by a single feature, a single price, or a single discovery. It is defined by layers. Each layer adds meaning, and together they create something far greater than metal ever could. This is the point where the penny's journey feels almost timeless. There is a quiet truth in coin collecting that many only realize after years of experience: the hunt never really ends. Even if the ultimate coin is found, the desire to understand it more deeply continues. The 1962 penny fits perfectly into this reality. Every example, even the most ordinary one, becomes part of a larger mosaic. Each circulated coin tells a story of movement and use. Each uncirculated coin tells a story of preservation and chance. None of them are meaningless. The idea of worth becomes more nuanced here. Monetary value is only one expression of worth, and often not the most important one. Knowledge gained through searching, patience learned through waiting, and appreciation developed through study all carry value that cannot be measured in dollars. The 1962 penny becomes a teacher in this sense. It rewards those who slow down and pay attention, not those who rush. Memory plays a powerful role. Many people associate pennies with childhood, with simpler times, with jars on shelves or coins pressed into palms. When a specific date like 1962 is revisited decades later, it triggers reflection. That emotional connection strengthens attachment and increases desirability. Coins that resonate emotionally tend to survive longer in collections and command stronger loyalty from their owners. There is also a quiet humility in this coin story. Despite all the speculation, all the excitement, and all the imagination surrounding extreme values, the penny itself remains unchanged. It does not know it might be rare. It does not care about price guides or auction results. It simply exists as it was created. This contrast between simplicity and obsession reveals something profound about human nature. We project meaning, dreams, and ambition onto objects, and in doing so, we elevate them. Collectors often speak about the moment when a coin finally feels complete in their collection. It is not always the most expensive piece, but the one that feels right. For some, a flawless 1962D penny becomes that anchor, the piece that represents everything they love about the hobby. When that happens, the coin becomes irreplaceable regardless of market value. Time continues to work quietly in the background. Each passing year adds distance from 1962 and increases historical weight. Future generations will view that year as ancient history, just as people today view the early 1900s. In that future, a well-preserved 1962D penny will feel far rarer than it does now, even if the number of surviving coins remains the same. Perception changes everything. The conversation around legendary prices will continue to evolve. Numbers may rise, fall, or be redefined. What matters more is that the possibility remains alive. The idea that something so small could reach unimaginable value forces people to question assumptions not only about coins, but about opportunity itself. It encourages curiosity, skepticism, and hope all at once. At this stage of the story, the penny almost fades into the background, replaced by what it represents. Attention. Awareness. The willingness to look closer. These qualities transform ordinary experiences into meaningful ones. The 1962D penny becomes a symbol of that transformation. As Part 8 settles, the journey feels quiet, reflective, and deep. The noise of prices and hype softens, replaced by understanding. The coin no longer needs to prove anything. Its importance has already been established through history, survival, and the countless minds it has inspired. What remains now is the final realization that value is not always about what something is worth, but about what it teaches those who take the time to truly see it. As Part 9 begins, the story reaches its most introspective point, where everything learned so far settles into a deeper awareness. By now, the 1962D penny is no longer being examined under a magnifying glass alone, but through the lens of time, human behavior, and meaning. This is where the penny stops being chased and starts being understood. There is a moment in every collector's journey when the obsession with finding something priceless gives way to appreciation for the journey itself. The 1962D penny often becomes part of that moment. After searching through thousands of coins, learning the difference between real and fake, sharp and weak, original and altered, the collector realizes that the true reward was the transformation of their own perception. The coin did not change, but the observer did. This penny teaches restraint. In a world driven by speed, instant results, and quick profit, coin collecting moves slowly. A 1962D penny might sit untouched for decades before anyone realizes its importance. That patience stands in contrast to modern habits, and it carries a quiet wisdom. Some things reveal their value only when allowed to age, to rest, and to survive. It also teaches discernment. Not every shiny coin is special, and not every worn coin is worthless. Learning to see beyond surface appearance is a skill that applies far beyond numismatics. The ability to recognize subtle quality, authenticity, and depth is something the 1962D penny demands from those who study it seriously. In return, it sharpens judgment. Stories continue to accumulate around this coin. Some are true, some exaggerated, some purely imagined. Yet all of them contribute to its presence in the collective consciousness. Even skepticism plays a role. Doubt forces research. Research strengthens understanding. Understanding refines value. In this way, debate itself becomes part of the penny's legacy. The idea of loss also enters the picture. For every exceptional 1962D penny that survives, countless others are gone forever. Melted, corroded, damaged, or discarded, they exist only as numbers in mint records. This loss amplifies the importance of survivors. What remains carries the weight of what disappeared. Preservation becomes an act of respect for history. Collectors often find themselves thinking about time differently. Holding a coin from 1962 compresses decades into a single moment. Past, present, and future feel connected. The same object will outlive its current owner and pass into new hands. That continuity offers comfort and perspective. It reminds us that we are temporary, but the stories we protect can endure. The 1962D penny also reveals the quiet power of focus. Millions of people have handled pennies without noticing them. The collector notices. That simple act of attention changes everything. What was invisible becomes significant. What was ignored becomes studied. This shift in awareness is subtle, but it is transformative. At this stage, extreme price figures no longer dominate the conversation. Whether or not a coin ever reaches unimaginable monetary heights becomes secondary. What matters is that the possibility existed, that the question was asked, and that curiosity was sparked. Sometimes the value of a question is greater than the value of an answer. As Part 9 draws toward its end, the story feels calm and resolved, yet open. The urgency of the hunt fades, replaced by respect. The 1962D penny rests quietly in its place, having fulfilled its role as teacher, symbol, and bridge between eras. It no longer needs to surprise, its presence alone is enough. The final part will not be about discovery or speculation, but about closure. It will bring together history, value, patience, and meaning into one lasting thought. Because in the end, the greatest legacy of the 1962 D penny is not what it might be worth, but what it has already given to those who truly paid attention. As this final part unfolds, everything comes to rest in a single, lasting realization. The journey of the 1962 D penny, from an ordinary piece of copper to a symbol of possibility, patience, and belief, reaches its quiet conclusion. There is no dramatic ending, no sudden revelation, because the true meaning of this coin was never meant to be loud. Its power has always been subtle. The 1962 D penny was born in a year that never imagined the future it would one day face. It entered the world as a simple cent, designed to circulate, to wear, to disappear. And yet, through survival, attention, and time, it escaped that fate. It became studied, questioned, admired, and remembered. Not because it demanded attention, but because someone chose to look closer. Throughout this story, value has taken many forms. There was monetary value, discussed in numbers that stretched the imagination. There was historical value, tied to an era that shaped the modern world. There was emotional value, rooted in memory, curiosity, and hope. And there was personal value, formed in the minds of those who learned patience, discipline, and respect through the act of collecting. All of these values exist at once, layered together, inseparable. The idea of a penny reaching extraordinary worth was never really about the price. It was about the challenge it posed to common thinking. It asked a simple question: what if something small is not small at all? What if importance is hidden, waiting for attention rather than announcement? The 1962 D penny answered that question quietly, again and again, for anyone willing to listen. In the end, the coin does not belong to one person, one collection, or one moment in time. It belongs to the story itself. It belongs to the hands that searched, the eyes that studied, and the minds that wondered. Long after prices change and markets shift, that story will remain. So when you look at a penny, any penny, remember this journey. Remember that history often hides in plain sight. Remember that patience can reveal what haste will never see. And remember that value is not always measured by size, but by meaning. This is where the story ends, not with a conclusion, but with an invitation. An invitation to look closer, to question more deeply, and to believe that even the smallest things can carry the greatest legacy.